So I've got 3 things that I want to talk about today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is my relationship with my mom. The second thing I'm going to talk about is an experience that I had where I saw non-terrestrial bound entities. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is turning 55 in 4 days. First thing, my mom is 81. She just turned 81 in December. And I feel so fortunate to have been able to develop an adult relationship with her. Really in the past year, since I moved out to Colorado, I've started talking to her on the phone just about every day. And it's been very helpful for me as an individual, and it's been helpful for her as a mom. And I'll tell you why. Growing up, I wasn't an easy kid, and I didn't have the most happiest of childhoods. The house was chaotic. My father was difficult. I was difficult. There were power structures and power struggles between him and I. Power struggles and also vying for the attention of my mother. I don't want to get into it, and I'm not going to, because that's a whole different topic. But the one I'm talking about is being thankful for being able to have an adult relationship with my mom. Now, like I just said, my childhood wasn't easy and it was difficult, but it wasn't done out of malice. It wasn't done out of intent. It was done out of ignorance. And I forgive them. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lament and talk bad about them. They did the best they could with what they had. Sure, it could have been better. I wish it was better, but it wasn't. And that's fine, you know. We've grown, we've healed. And I've spoken to my mom about almost everything. You know, I have no resentments towards her or my father. No resentment. And the reason why I don't have any resentment is that they finally, after years or whatever, heard me. And they see me for who I am. My dad's 84. He's going to be 85 tomorrow. And I'm going to be 55 a few days after that. And that's big. 85 is huge. 55 is huge. And you don't think about it when you're younger. One of the things that I'm always telling my mom is that I tell her that I know she did her best, and I tell her all the things that I'm grateful for now. There was a time when all I did was lament about the bad, and I focused on that. And that's because I was in a different mindset. I thought of myself as a victim, and I thought of them as the oppressors, and I really saw myself as being broken because of them. I don't think that anymore. As a matter of fact, I didn't always think that for the longest time. And I also had a good relationship with my mom at that time. I wouldn't say that I thought that I was great or anything, but I believed in myself. I knew I was different, and I was okay with that. I was okay with my particular kind of crazy. But as the world evolved, I started to doubt myself. Started to doubt what I thought. And I started to get brainwashed into thinking that my parents were bad, that they were evil, that they didn't know what they were doing, that they were mean, that they were unkind, that they were selfish, ignorant, all the things that you think of somebody that's less than you. And I didn't realize that I was getting brainwashed by society and the world into thinking that I was better than my parents. Because that's what society tells you. You know, you're going to be better than your parents. You're smarter. They didn't have this. They didn't have that. Culture tells you that the old people are stupid and that the old people don't know what's going on. And well, yeah, they don't know what 6'7" is and none of that nonsense, but who fucking cares? It's all so stupid. You know, it's like an adult not understanding why parachute pants were cool in the 80s. You know, or somebody not understanding why Magic the card game is so enticing, or Dungeons and Dragons, you know? This idea that older people just don't get it and they don't understand, and only the younger people do, is an idea perpetuated by younger people against older people, and it's ageist. And I used to feel that way towards my parents. But as I've gotten older, and as I've matured and I've become the adult that I am, I've seen how right they were about a lot of things. So yeah, I'm thankful for my mom and going to Catholic high school. You know, also trying to teach me about religion and God and Jesus. Like, thank you. That was good. I don't think people today have the same sort of moral foundation and moral bedrock that I have. And it's because I read the Bible growing up. I went to church. You know, I was surrounded by that. The 10 Commandments. I was baptized, yep. I don't want to get into the ins and outs of whether I believe all the aspects of it. I'm an intelligent person. It's going to be hard pressed for me to believe that. But I do believe that a lot of those things happened at some level that are in the Bible. And I'll tell you why. That's the last story. So my faith has been tested and questioned and answered. One time when I was in high school, I was lying in my bed, and I don't know if I'd tried cigarettes yet or if I'd tried drinking yet, but if I had, it was something that I did on the weekends or occasionally. It wasn't like I did it every day. But I was lying in bed one night, and I remember thinking to myself, God, if you're here, if you're real, please just give me a sign. Give me a sign that you're real. And I'm lying there in bed, and my eyes are closed, and I'm like waiting, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm totally open to it. I'm not putting it down. I'm there, and if I hear a sign, if I get a sign, I'll know that you're real. In my bedroom, I had a roll-top desk, and the roll-top desk had these drawers on it, and the drawers had these handles that had a part that was attached to the drawer, and then there was this little part that you would pull out and it would like swing. And I had this habit of flipping them up so they would stand up against the top of the drawer, so it'd be kind of up. And then you'd pull it open and they'd flop down, they'd make a little noise. So I asked God for a sign. And wouldn't you know it, one of those handles on the drawer, pink, falls down and makes a sound. Like, I am hyperventilating, ecstatic, right? I'm on like some sort of high, but at the same time, I'm like, well, that could have happened on its own. That didn't need to be from God. And I kind of discounted it, and I put it away. And I didn't really think about it for a long time. In hindsight, that absolutely was a sign from God. And the reason is that never before or after me that day, when I had them flipped up, did they ever fall down like that. Never again, never since or before. It was a one-time event. And in the moment, I was able to write it off because I had a hard time believing what I had just experienced, the miracle, the sign. So I do believe 100% in a higher power. Around the same time, I used to have these dreams, these like journeys, where I'd be lying in bed and I would have my eyes closed and I would start to get this vision. And now I don't easily see things with my eyes closed. I have aphantasia to an extent. But I didn't then, for whatever reason. And I would have this vision where it would start out, I'd be like looking at anything. I'd be looking at my thumbnail. And I'd look at it and I'd start zooming into my thumbnail. And as I'm zooming into the thumbnail, I'm getting closer to the nail, I'm getting closer to the nail. And then I zoom into the cells in the nail. And then I zoom into the molecules that make up those cells, and then the atoms that make up those molecules, and then the electrons and protons and neutrons that make up those atoms, and whatever the sequence is, you know what I'm saying. But I would just have this visual journey going in. And as I'm going in, eventually I'd get to black space and get to nothing. And as I'd burst into the nothing from all the protons and neutrons and electrons and stuff and into the nothing, I'd explode out into, and I'd see the universe. And then I'd zoom into a galaxy, and I'd zoom into a planet, and I'd zoom into a thing on the planet, and then I'd zoom into a molecule or an electron, or, and be this reciprocal zoom of how everything is connected, as above, so below. Which is a famous sort of saying that people were hooked on for a while, but it's really true. Whether you look out at the universe or you look down into your thumb, it's emptiness. Some people believe that science is showing that there may be black holes at the center of each atom or something. Little tiny microscopic black holes that are holding everything together. That's a wild thought, that we're all made up of nothing. I digress. I am very lucky to have had a chance to have an adult relationship with my mom. And I'll talk to her about that crazy story about having that dream when I was a kid. And she'd be like, wow, she was in the same house and this is what I'm experiencing. And she had no idea what's going on. How could she? I didn't know how to describe things at the time. Some days I'll hear how old she is in her voice. She'll sound tired, but maybe she'll have only gotten 5 or 6 hours sleep. I'll hear my dad talk, and he sounds old. 85. His speech is a bit slurry. And he just sounds old. But I've also been able to heal my relationship with him and tell him that I forgive him and that I know that he did his best at the time. And it's okay. You did your best. It's okay. I love you. Wasn't easy, but it made me who I am. And while I do wish some of my circumstances were different, I enjoy being me now. I didn't always. It's been a year of talking to my mom and coming off the ledge of New York. Whoa. Living in New York is another topic I'm not going to go into right now. Okay? I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to talk about turning 55 or I'm supposed to talk about the non-corporeal beings that I experienced in the 90s next. But I'm going to go with turning 55. This is something that my wife and I have spoken about. She's going to turn 51 this year, and I'm turning 55. Yeah. She's 4 years younger than me. I forget. Time. Oh. I never thought about being 55 when I was younger. I never thought about 55 as being a milestone until I turned 45. Until I turned 50, really. I didn't think about how important 55 was until I was 50. I knew 50 was important when I was 45. I even tried to trick myself at 49 into thinking that, oh yeah, I'm going to get over it this year. 55 is some different shit. Some different shit. Over half of my life is over. Unless I live to be 110, which isn't impossible, but I'm gonna need a bunch more money to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna take some big money. But I think I can get there. I know I can get there, you know. I believe in myself. I think I believe in myself more at 55 than I did at 45 or 35. But I had a different attitude back then. I'm still hungry. I'm still energized, but it's a slow burn. It's the hot coals. It's not the high leaping flames. And the coals burn hotter than the flames. Don't kid yourself. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not going on. At 55, I've, better or worse, kind of shrunk my friend pool down. That's a different conversation. I'm happy with who I am internally. I'm happy with how I'm no longer white knuckling it. I'm happy that I'm no longer angry. I'm happy that I'm able to have perspective and I'm able to see things for what they truly are rather than what people tell me they are. For a long time, I doubted my own internal. It's not rationalization. It's not understanding. For the longest time, I didn't trust my own perspective on things. And I may have jokingly or mockingly kind of put myself down, but I didn't mean it. At 55, I don't do that anymore. There's a lot of things I don't do anymore. I've learned to kind of not get involved in things that aren't going to benefit me. I mean, things have a way of manifesting in my life and then showing me something for as long as it's needed and then kind of goes on its way. It happens. At 55, I never envisioned myself living in the mountains. I had always wanted to come to Colorado. I wanted to get away from New York, and I thought I liked it here because of wanting to be around somebody. But it turns out I just like being here. Up in this mountain's a bit much. I gotta get down mountain. I can't think as well up here. There just isn't as much oxygen. Definitely a lot slower than I used to be. It's older, but it's also, 15% oxygen in the air versus 20. That's gonna change some shit, you know? It's like running on 85 rather than 91 octane in a sports car. It's gonna make a difference. 55, Colorado. I think I've got my priorities straight at 55. Family, career. Art was always important, and it used to be the most important thing. But it no longer really is. I do it, but being part of a scene, it took too much out of me. I had to be somebody other than who I am, and at 55, I'm really not interested in that. Not at all. I'm calm, I'm in a good place. At 55, I'm also no longer medicated. I was on antidepressants and SSRIs for the better part of 20 years, on and off. And now I'm off. It's easy to see how a lot of the world is pilled up. You almost have to be high performing and high functioning in an enterprise level. Like, you really do have to be superhuman and operate fast and be really quick. Be very reactive. And at 55, I'm just not. I'm not reactive. I wouldn't say that my reactions have gotten burnt out, but I've learned that patience and being calm far out benefit being overly reactive. It never gets you anywhere. It looks like you're doing something, but you're not really. It's not really helping you or helping anybody. Yeah. At 55, I'm happily married. I'm happily married at 55. And it's to somebody that I knew when I was 25, which is wild. At 55, I never expected to be married to Kristen. She was the love of my life when I was younger. And she was the one that got away, that I always wondered what was going on with her. And I didn't keep tabs on her over the years. We kind of drifted apart. I did my thing. She did hers. I always did wonder what was going on with her. In 2015, when I had just moved back to New York and I was living at my parents' house, I reconnected with Kristen. And pretty much from that day on, we've spent every day together. When we got together, it was like some fire that had been smoldering underground for 20 years got relit, and you could not keep us apart. And when we got together, I did not think that 10 years later, 11 years later, we'd be living in Colorado together. Did not think that in a million years. I thought I'd be in New York forever. But, some things just aren't meant to be. Maybe, circumstances are different. We're able to live someplace better. But no, not right now. Not at 55. Couldn't do it right now. Not where we were and stuff. But yeah, this is, and didn't think I'd be here, but I'm happy to be here. A lot of other places that we could be. So, glad to be here and not one of those places. All right, next thing. Non-terrestrial beings. So this story takes place in the early 90s. I'm thinking 1994, maybe 95. And here's the thing about the early 90s. There were a lot of strange happenings and experiences going on all over Long Island, at Skinwalker Ranch, all over Utah, all over the US. It was a high time for UFO activity. So, it is like a Saturday morning. I had just spent the night at my girlfriend's house. And I was in my 20s, and so was she. And it was a beautiful night of togetherness. So I was glowing. I had spent the night at her house. I had gone back to my parents' house where I was living at the time. Showered, got changed, and I was heading out to Smithtown to visit my friend Josh to go to an NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous. I was sober and in the program at the time. And man, I was just having a great morning. I must have been full of so many endorphins. I was feeling so energized. I had this huge subwoofer in my truck, so as I would listen to music, you would just feel it all throughout your body. I was probably listening to some Moby tune or something that was making me feel real good. And I was driving from Huntington to Smithtown. And I would take 25A out to Smithtown along the north shore of Long Island. And as I'm headed to get onto 25A, I'm passing Heckscher Park, and I see the most beautiful girl getting out of her car. And she turns and she looks at me, and I look at her, and she smiles and I smile, and we wave at each other, and we're both just glowing and happy. I don't know who she is. She was beautiful. She smiled and waved, and I smiled and waved. I was feeling so good, so full of love, full of happiness and joy, and I was clear and clean. So I get onto 25A and I'm driving out to Josh's house. And as I'm driving out there, you can stay on 25A or you can take like a side road. For some reason, I took the side road, the scenic route. And as I'm driving out there, going out to his house in Smithtown, I drive through Kings Park, and at the outside of Kings Park is the Kings Park Psychiatric Center. And as I'm coming up to it, I'm like, I feel my body getting ready to turn. I'm like, why is this happening? I don't want to do this. I'm not trying to turn in here. What's going on? And then I guess I'm making the turn. I turn into Kings Park Psych Center. And the way that this place is set up is that there's a road that it's like a 2-lane highway, it's like one here. And on either side of the highway is grass. And then I think it opens up at one point, so like there's like a field between the two lanes. And as I'm driving down this path, I see the spooky old Kings Park Psychiatric Center that's been closed down for decades. It used to house crazy people in here. It was a sanitarium. It was shut down and let everybody out on the streets. So there's like a lot of energy there. As I'm driving, I'm getting these like weird vibes about like what used to be there. I'm thinking about like all the people that used to live there, all the souls that had been there, all the people that had passed away while they were there. And as I'm thinking about all this stuff, in the middle, on the grass, it's a non-corporeal mist. It's a mist that I see, but doesn't quite exist in this dimension, but I see it there. My eyes are open. It's like a hallucination, but I can tell that it's extra dimensional. And from this mist, I start to see these beings rise up. And these beings starting to rise up, they have these long heads, these long arms, but they're mist. They kind of look like tall, gray aliens. And they're like 6 feet tall, and they're all coming up in the field, hundreds of them, all in the field, through the mist. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is absolutely bonkers. I can't believe this is happening, but I'm not going to say it's not happening. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with the experience because this is crazy. I've always wondered if this thing was real. So I'm in the car and I'm like, all right, if this is really happening, give me a sign. In the car, it's a Ford Bronco 2, an 86 Bronco 2. I'm in the front seat, I'm driving. In the middle of the car, between the two seats, this gigantic alien head appears, non-corporeal alien head in the car, like right here. I'm like, holy shit. And I go like this, and I can feel the warmth of it on my hands. I'm losing my mind. At the same time, the cigarette lighter that hasn't worked in years pops out of the dashboard. Ching, pops out, falls on the floor, and it's hot. That can't happen. That hasn't worked in years. This is crazy, right? Kind of fades away, driving down, see the non-corporeal beings and thing in the field. And I'm driving down the road, and it's like, okay, at the end of the road, making a right. I guess I'm making a right into this parking lot. I'm not trying to do any of this. I'm just letting it happen. So I park the car. Shit you not. Something's telling me, get out of the car and go in and walk into the woods. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not getting out of the car. I'm not going into the woods. I've seen too many horror movies. I know how this shit ends. Abso-fucking-lutely not. At that moment, I kind of come to, no longer in the daze, no longer feeling the pull of any of this stuff. I'm like, as soon as I said no, the spell was broken. I put the car in reverse, I turn around, I pull out. As I'm pulling out, the mist, the people have disappeared into the ground, and the mist is there, and the mist is kind of evaporating, and the little bits of the heads are going down as I'm driving the fuck out of there. I'm like, no way. I ain't going in the woods. I ain't getting out of the car. Hell no. No. I'm not doing that. Are you crazy? Hell no. Haul ass out of there. Go to my friend Josh's house. And I was geeked. I tell him, I tell his mom, I tell everybody that I know about this experience. And then I forget about it. And then it goes poof out of my head. Totally forget about it. Until years later, and I'm driving down. I'm headed out to Long Island, again on Long Island, but this is like 2017, 2018 or something. I'm living in Queens. I've got a storage unit out in Farmingdale. I have to drive on the LIE out to Farmingdale to get to the storage unit. That day, before I went out, I'm thinking to myself, man, why don't I ever look up when I'm outside and see if I can see a UFO? I mean, they're all over the place. I know they've happened for a long time. I should try to look some more. Driving out on the LIE, something tells me, look outside the window. I look outside the window and I see this gigantic black triangle in the sky with a light in each corner. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It comes over me, triangle craft, comes over me, goes that way, and then disappears. I saw it for 8 seconds, 9 seconds. I look to the right, black helicopter, no lights on, chasing it. Completely forget about it. Completely forget about it. 3 weeks later, I'm at home. We're watching something on TV. Something about a UFO comes on. I'm like, holy shit. Chris, I saw a UFO 2 weeks ago. She's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I completely forgot about it. And then I also remembered about what had happened at the Kings Park Psychiatric Center. And then I remembered the first time I'd seen something weird. Again, this was in the 80s, 85, 86. And I'm hanging out with these two girlfriends, and we're gonna go see Halloween 3 in the theater. And I think I was a scared baby the whole time, keeping my eyes closed or some shit. But on the way to the theater, the three of us are walking down the street on the South Shore. We look out over the ocean and we see this rectangle of light in the sky. Just hanging out there, rectangle of light in the sky, bright as can be. It's there, we look, we see it, and then it goes, and then it closes. Like as if a door. Like, the three of us like, what did we just see? Did you guys, yep, we all acknowledged that we saw it. And then we walked in silence to the movie theater, saw the movie in silence, and then never talked about it again. So, do I believe? Yeah. Non-terrestrial beings? Abso-fucking-lutely. Hell yeah, I mean, I've seen some shit, man. Seen some shit. All right, that's the 3 things. Mom turning 55, and weird shit I've seen. And that about covers everything. Please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed these topics, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Cheers.